Hi, how are you today? This is Elisheva speaking, and I just wanted to share with you a little thought of the day on millionaireinthemaking.com. So today I've been thinking a little bit about the fulfillment curve. The fulfillment curve is a graph that I drew out for you in order to make it a little more visual. And this side of the graph is showing how much money we spend, and this side of the graph shows how much happiness we get from that money. And what's interesting is that the amount of money that people spend often correlates to the amount of satisfaction and happiness that they have in their life, right? If you're able to pay for good food, then you enjoy good food. If you're able to pay for a nice car, you enjoy a nice car. But what this graph is telling us is that at a certain point, the amount of money we spend and the amount of satisfaction we get from it reaches a peak. Okay? This is the part of enough of satisfaction of having all my needs met, plus a little more for extras. And what we see that's very interesting is once you pass that point, once you spend money on things that are over and above what you actually need, plus a little extras for treats or whatever, then what we see is the amount of happiness and satisfaction we get from our money starts to go down. Now, this is a very important thing to be aware of because the reason people want money to begin with is in order to be happy, in order to be secure and content. And it's very tragic. I know you might know this from your own life, or you might see it in other people. There's this phenomenon of wealthy people or people that spend a lot of money, but you can see that they're not happy. And to me, that's just missing the whole point, because it's not about the stuff or the materialistic things around us. What life is really about is the contentment and the happiness that you have on the inside. And that doesn't come as we see it. Initially, it does come from filling your life and your world up with nice things. But at a certain point, you need to stop and say, okay, now I have my needs met. I have everything I need in order to feel comfortable and satisfied and happy. And that's the peak that you need to stay at. And once you pass that, then you start experiencing this downward spiral, which I think is something that a lot of people are in today. Because we're so out of touch with what are my actual needs. So I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I actually started noticing it in an entirely different area of my life, in health and food. Me and my husband have recently gotten really into being healthy and trying to eat vegetables for breakfast and salads and that kind of thing. And we noticed that besides for eating healthy, there's also an aspect of portion control, because we have these big plates and we would always fill them up with food and then feel like we have to finish all the food. Actually, just as a side note, when I was buying the plates, this was a very crazy thing. When I was buying the plates initially, I went to the store and I asked to look at different dish sets, and the lady said, well, do you want the American style or the European style? And I asked her, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, the American style has bigger sized plates because they eat more. And I was very embarrassed because clearly I'm an American. And I just thought that's crazy, because it just goes to show that the amount of food we're putting on our plates doesn't have anything to do with what we actually need. It's just become the social norm of amounts. Anyways, the point of that is that we noticed that instead of filling up our plate to its maximum and then eating the whole amount, if we ate just a portion of it and stopped when we felt comfortable and satisfied, we were actually much better off, and we were more comfortable and happy and satisfied for the rest of the evening, the rest of our day, and whatever. And I kind of saw this as a real correlation. Because just like with food, it's so clear, it's so easy to see that if you eat too much, you get a stomach ache, and then you feel bloated and uncomfortable. That with money, it's the same way. Now, there's a lot of talk about money, that if you spend too much, then you're not going to have for the future. or you need to, have a budget so that you're not spending too much, because if you're spending too much, then there's all sorts of ramifications about what it means, if you spend your kids' college money now, then you can't spend it later, right? And there's a lot of talk about saving what we have now for the future, which is a very important thing, and I'm a big advocate of living on a budget and being thoughtful about your future. But there's another point here that I think is really, really important, and that is recognizing that the amount of money we spend has to also correlate to what our current needs are, in the sense that often I think we're spending more than what we need, because we're out of touch with what our core needs and what our balance is of what we need in order to feel satisfied and happy. So, if you were to look at this graph for yourself, find out what is that peak, what is that place where you have everything you need and you're comfortable and you actually don't need more. And then recognize that spending money beyond that is not going to promote your happiness. And when you have that, then there's a sense of freedom. Just like you can have a big plate of food in front of you and say, well, I'm hungry, but not for that huge amount, and then take care of your body the way the amount that your body needs, you're going to be comfortable and happy. The same thing with your finances. If you say, well, I do have needs, right? And be clear on what those needs are, and then when you satisfy those needs, you have that sense of fulfillment. And you don't have to go beyond that because you're already fulfilled. And that is what I would love for everyone to be at, is this place, which is really a unique place for every person. So this is has to take some self-introspection, self-awareness to know where do you fall? Where is this place for you? And to let go of the social or peer pressure of going beyond that. If you're comfortable and happy with your house the way it is, then why should you have to upgrade? If you are comfortable and happy with the school your kids are in, if you're comfortable and happy with the type of vacations you take, then you can let go of the need or the feeling that you have to, finish your plate. You have to go all the way. You don't. This is about you and your satisfaction, and that's what I would love for every person to be at. So I just want to finish with a little quote. Many people say enough is as good as a feast, and I think it should be enough is better than a feast, because if you go to, everyone knows, the Thanksgiving dinner, you finish and you just feel like lousy. You can't move and your stomach hurts and you can't think about food for the next week, right? Who wants to be in that situation? So the better place to be is to have eaten enough to be comfortable and happy, and that's the best place to be. So also in the realm of finances, that we're working now to think about what are our needs and be really clear what value and happiness is my spending money bringing to me. So I hope this idea was helpful to you. I know it's really been changing my life, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.